Well, 6 months from today, Canada will wake up to either a re-elected Liberal government or perhaps a colour change to a Conservative or NDP mandate, maybe even a Green mandate, who knows? That demands a pitbull campaign session with our esteemed strategists. Let's get to their insights. Greg Weston is with Earnscliffe Strategy Group. Carl Belanger, president of the Douglas Coldwell Foundation. Andrea Van Voot is a political commentator. Greg McEachern with Proof Strategies. In celebration of our 6-month countdown, the Conservatives have gracefully put out an ad. I don't know if they're paying to advertise it, but we'll show part of it right now. I want to get your thoughts. Let's listen to what Andrew Scheer's opening attack on Justin Trudeau is with 6 months to go.
Be straight with Canadians?
I am looking straight at Canadians and being honest the way I always have. We will balance that budget in 2019.
The deficit this year, including a $3 billion rainy day fund, is $19.8 billion.
You can't be inventing things.
The 2015 election will be the last federal election using first past the post. I turned my back on that promise. Yep.
Can't be lying to Canadians.
All right, that goes on for like 2 minutes. It's an interesting ad. Andrea, do you think it works? Is this the theme that's going to be most effective for the Conservatives in the 6 months to come?
I think what the Conservatives are trying to do is portray Justin Trudeau as backing off on all the promises that he made back in 2015. That they're saying that this is not the man that he promised that he was going to be during the 2015 campaign. And they're going to show all of the proof points of how that is absolutely the case. And the last 2 months have, I think, really undermined the Prime Minister's brand. And the Conservative Party is going to take all of the opportunities they can to underline that.
All right, I'll go to you, Greg Weston, on this one, because we just came out of an Alberta election where Jason Kenney proudly announced that attack ads don't work. In fact, Andrew Scheer says the same thing. That's not exactly a subtle attack ad. Do these lines of attack work, do you think?
Don, I think we keep hoping attack ads won't work, but they're there every election campaign, and there's a reason, because sometimes they do stick. The Conservatives were particularly good at using attack ads to frame and brand Stéphane Dion, Michael Ignatieff. They were, dead out of the gate. They were toast before they even got to the election campaign. They tried it, remember, in 2015 with Justin Trudeau. He's not ready yet. So this is an attempt to see whether they can get something to stick that resonates not with Canadians broadly, but certainly with their base and with that soft group of people who are not very happy with the person they voted for last time, hoping to move them this time. So this is the trial run of attack ads.
Got a lot more ammunition. I mean, it's not just great hair, but not ready. Would you pursue that line of attack if you were the Conservatives?
Well, there's 2 points I'm going to make. The first one is that Justin Trudeau broke his word and broke his promises. It's nothing new. And opposition parties have tried to make that point time and time again over the course of the past few years to no effect. The polls have not moved on those broken promises. The fact that they're reinserting it right now is interesting because they feel there's an opportunity to remind people what happened in 2015, why they got elected, and then it goes back to the second point, which is about trust. And the trust has been broken over the past couple of months over the SNC-Lavalin affair. So introducing that frame is interesting. Now, the key question is that if you make it about trust, do you actually trust Andrew Scheer? And that's a tougher.
All right, G-Mac. What do you make of that ad? And do you think that could do some damage to the Prime Minister?
I think Carl's right that the following SNC-Lavalin, which again was a gift to the opposition, not something that Andrew Scheer's dug up. They've never been able to actually dig up anything that kind of carried forward as an issue. And with the Liberals' help, tried to keep it going for a long time. But now it's how do we push this forward? I could get into the ad whether or not news organizations are going to be angry for using the clips. I could talk about context, but once you're explaining that, that's an issue. But I will point out that 5 days ago, after the Alberta election, Andrew Scheer tweeted, "Negative and nasty personal attacks didn't work in Alberta. And in October, Justin Trudeau will learn that they won't work for him. Canadians will see through this fear and smear." So again, pick a lane. And this is kind of one of the conversations that we were having a lot before SNC-Lavalin, is whether or not Andrew Scheer's team was ready for prime time. So you have him, like a lot of people were quite surprised when he tweeted that the day after the Alberta election because it didn't seem to fit, and it doesn't fit with the ad that you just showed. So Pick a lane. What are we going to get from Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives? I'm not quite sure.
Well, let's pick a lane with Justin Trudeau. I'll stick with you. Can he say sunny ways are here, and I'm not going to do negativity on one hand, and then say Andrew Scheer is a white supremacist sympathizer and an alt-right guy?
Well, you may have noticed that I've never been a big fan of sunny ways, and I think it was I don't know, it shocks. My family is shocked to hear this. But I mean, it really punished them, especially in places like question period, because the Conservatives learned quickly that the Liberals were not going to remind them of their past misdeeds. They were just going to move on. And then after a certain period of time, that doesn't work anymore. So I think we're going to have to see if if this is about winning the election, I think, it's politics. Political parties are going to do what they need to do to get elected.
I can hear it now, though. It's going to be white supremacists, climate change denier. All this stuff's going to be thrown at Scheer. What's he do? Just shrug his shoulders, or does he fight back with this type of ad?
Frankly, I think he turns it back on the Prime Minister and says everything that you promised Canadians you were going to be in 2015 is exactly not who you are. So I'm not really sure, especially as the Prime Minister is trying to take a no more Mr. Nice Guy approach now. It's not authentic, and Canadians are going to see through it, especially after he tried to sell himself as such a positive politician who was going to do things differently. The last 2 months have completely undermined that message.
The Conservatives did say that part of the reason why they lost in 2015 was, remember, tone? And I've never really seen that they've actually kind of acknowledged or changed their behavior in opposition that seems anything different than what we saw in 2015.
And I wish that the Liberals were taking a little bit of a note from that, because I think that's exactly what's going to happen to Prime Minister Trudeau.
Mr. West, I like your thoughts. White's, all this stuff that's being thrown at Scheer as well from the Liberals. Is that sort of stuff? Is the fear factor that you're electing a Doug Ford in Ottawa, you're electing a Jason Kenney? Is that the sort of stuff that works for the Liberals?
Don, it's interesting we're having this conversation talking about the focus is on the two leaders, and this will be the fourth election in a row where if one party can make it about the other leader, that's who will probably win this election. If the Liberals can make this about Andrew Scheer, the Liberals have a chance of winning this. If the Conservatives are successful in the kind of attack ads we've seen here and make it all about Justin Trudeau and his leadership, Conservatives will be well positioned in this. So eventually that's what it's going to come down to, is one or the other. And I mean, there's no end to the amount of mud you can sling when you're going after the leaders.
Well, where's the NDP in all this, Carl?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Sorry, I didn't know I was asking such a tough question.
That is actually the key question.
This is a big problem for the NDP. If the Liberals are going to do their best to make it about as a two-way race. We might be bad, but these guys will be way worse. And this is where the NDP needs to say, you don't need to go from bad to worse. You can actually go to something better. It's a key challenge for the NDP in this point in the cycle. Jagmeet Singh just released his autobiography. He's been doing well in the SNC-Lavalin, being a lawyer, but in the polls, they're still kind of flat. I mean, there's been a little bit of an uptick, not enough. But if the NDP lets this become a two-way race and get marginalized, then chances are it's going to be difficult for the Conservatives to win. That said, the Liberals cannot take anything for granted, because the kind of messaging that you've heard from the Conservatives, you can hear from the NDP, and there's a lot of voters that are fed up with those broken promises. They just haven't come to that conclusion yet.
Andrea, what does Andrew Scheer have to do in the next 6 months? Is there some sort of easy to explain strategy that he should deploy between now and October that will actually stick? Because given that we've probably got 2.5 months of that 6 months is summer vacation when no one's paying any attention. What do you do to make yourself get A, known, and B, introduced in a way that's favorable?
I think he's done a really good job in the last, 2 months.
Because he's been given gold-plated ammunition.
He really has, and I think he's taken a really good advantage of the opportunities that he's been given. I think that Canadians are going to be looking for him now more to define himself, to release a platform, to talk more about what he stands for, to contrast himself against Justin Trudeau. But the Conservative Party is in a pretty strong position going into the summer, right? We've got 2/3 of our candidates nominated. We have money coming in at an unprecedented amount. And we're doing pretty well in the polls. I mean, it's very early. 6 months is like a lifetime in politics. Yeah. It's pretty early. But I think if he goes into the summer, defining himself, releasing a platform, continuing to position position the party going into the election, then I think we've actually got a pretty good shot.
The Conservatives also have a bunch of premiers that are doing bad things, and you can expect the Liberals to, or to progressive voters, they're doing bad things. So you can expect the Liberals to say, you know, Jason Kenney equals Doug Ford equals Andrew Scheer, and they're all Donald Trump. That's going to be part of the Liberal narrative.
I'll take that, though, because all of those premiers just won majorities in the provinces that they're running in, and all of those voters likely are looking for a similar message from Andrew Scheer.
Or they might look for different messages. Who knows?
Well, you know, I just remember in 2004 when Martin Liberals went, one of the added gifts was the McGuinty government had been in power for about a year and had done a lot of things that made them unpopular, and they were just starting to kind of be noticed by the public. And there has been a lot of things in the province of Ontario that have made groups like parents, teachers, people that are quite easy to organize, very, very upset. And that could be a gift for the Liberals.
One thing I was going to get to you on this one, GMAC, before we go, is there was two things. One, there's a cry from people to get a Liberal national election campaign chair in place. We're 6 months out and they haven't got one. Two, this article in the Globe that sort of peered inside the PMO and made it look like it wasn't exactly a smooth running ship. What did you make of all this?
Well, on the Globe article first, I thought it was a fair article. I thought it was balanced. It identified that this situation that the Liberals have gone through for the last couple of months is very unusual. It highlighted a couple of areas where I think there's some concern, and there was some concern about caucus relations and how much outreach the Prime Minister's done that. I think it also identified that that's being addressed. But I've said before, when Katie Telford and Jerry Butts were the two in charge, I've said on this panel, you cannot run a government with two people. And now one of them is gone. You can't run a government and prepare for an election. Right. So get that campaign director in place, get that going, get your butt in gear.
Quick last word to you on all this. What that PMO article, got any thoughts on it? Did you read it?
I did. And their biggest problem right now is going to be getting people to run in the next election to stop the stampede towards the door. Okay. I heard over the last couple of days there are two more ready to go.
Whoa.
And they are not without profile.
Okay, we'll hold that to you. Thank you, Greg, and everybody else. Nice having you on the show, Andrea.
Thank you.
You did battle with these guys very well.